let's start with Albert Breer,
Right.
who said that the 49ers have given this guy a lot of chances, which was like dog whistle central. But again, Albert Breer, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, a lot of times they've heard things, don't know where, but they're usually parroting what they've heard.
Yeah. Well, yes, Albert Breer is definitely parroting what he's heard. And, to use, language like this guy, they've given this guy enough chances when we've only seen 4 games out of him in the raw. Lets you know that, a professional like Albert Breer is not clumsy, right? He wouldn't use that type of language unless he was told, or at least was given the type of language in the same spirit of this guy.
Right.
It sounds a little dismissive. I feel like that word keeps coming up a lot about Trey. It sounds frustrated, and it sounds impatient.
Right.
So what
it feels like people are talking about Jamarcus Russell, like, man, this guy's addicted to codeine. He doesn't do his homework.
It's like,
he's 80 pounds overweight. He's fucking
like
stupid.
Trey,
yeah, it's like, what?
I feel like you can't really pinpoint anything about Trey off the field or character wise that would be detrimental to a locker room as veteran laden as ours. And
real quick, in New York, they had an entire locker room wearing T-shirts about the backup quarterback, like about how much they like Mike White. No one's ever done that in the Niners.
This ain't that.
Trey never got disrespected like Zach Wilson did.
Yeah. So I feel like what we're seeing right now is, let's look at what, when, where, and why, right? So the what is Trey, the when is during the offseason, the where is from the 49ers, and the why would have to be that the organization is not in on Trey, right? We do a lot of zeroing in on Kyle, we do, and deservedly so, but this is the organization. Kyle has nothing to do with these types of reports. Kyle has nothing to do, or the coaching staff has nothing to do with keeping the bubble roll, keeping this boil at a low rumble, if you will. And we did touch on this, where I feel like they're building enough momentum about Trey throughout the offseason. So if and when it's time for Kyle to either insert Trey, if he thinks he needs to, there's already enough narrative and momentum about how the 49ers feel, where indirectly it could put some heat on Kyle to think twice about putting Trey onto the field, right? Because the organization, we are such a far cry away from 49ers don't leak. Remember that? That's not the case anymore. And what's crazy about it is that this isn't, Pope smoke, right? This isn't tweets that are coming out. These are reputable members of the media that have large organizations. They have stuff to lose, their reputation and their credibility. And for these members of the media to come out, who seemingly, if you just do a little Google search, they all have ties to the organization, and people inside of the organization let you know that they wouldn't stick their neck or their reputation out on the line unless they're explicitly getting this type of information from the organization. So that's how it comes off. It feels like Trey Lance seemed to be a coaching decision, and I feel like the organization they're tired of it. They're ready to move on from the Trey situation.
I just like the way people talk about Trey is so coded and passive aggressive, and it's disappointing how many people do it. It's almost like people who are like really against affirmative action. They're like, man, this guy's had plenty of chances. This guy shouldn't even. It's like
they've given this guy.
Yeah, it's like all that kind of
him in practice.
This guy is like, honestly, should he even be here if he wasn't black? Like all that kind of stuff is like, man.
I don't think.
You won't come out and say it, but you're saying it.
Yeah, but I'll go a step further, right? Because that's let's play a little bit of 3D chess. Like that's what you want to touch on, right? If you've got an open wound. But really what it is what is behind racism anyway, which is money and classism. And what's behind this is there are people who are galvanized to how the 49ers look as an organization, how they are represented as an organization through winning games and the development of the coaching staff. There's a lot of people that are invested in making sure that this coaching staff isn't seen as inept or not professional in certain areas. So I feel like styles make fights, and Trey is an easy target. It just so happens that he's black, right? It's
Sure.
so
He's just such a departure from what 49ers football has been the last 5 years, right? It's been dink and dunk, a very particular brand of passing and offense.
Yeah, and you gotta, if we're looking at it, if we really want to go, 10,000 foot view, with our history, are we ready to ingest another quarterback of culture or of color? Like, is that something that we're necessarily galvanized around? Like, we're not necessarily.
Last time was a little controversial.
Yeah, we're not necessarily Baltimore, where that culture can ingest a type of quarterback like Lamar. So I mean, but that's neither here nor there.
It's a good point.
Yeah, but
Atlanta's like that, Philly's like that, Baltimore's like that.
Yeah,
is Santa Clara like that? You'd think, but maybe not.
So So I will say this: the people that are simply reporting, right? Because I feel like we try to put personal characteristics on people just simply giving out the reports, right? Albert Breer is simply doing his job, right? And with him giving out the report that he was given, it's clear that this organization is not really geared up to take the bumps and bruises that it would take to ingest a young quarterback and nurture him along the way. That's more along the lines of what's really happening, right?
Right.
What we have as an organization, from our roster that we have, is we're not ready to do what everybody knows you need to do to bring up a young quarterback, and that's give him time, reps, and nurture him. And we don't have the space to do that. And I just wish that we would put that out first and stop trying to write a novel.
Put it on Trey.
Write a novel about a menu, right? Yeah. He's only played 4 games. People talking about, he's not as athletic as they thought he was. Well, he's not quite the running type. He didn't play. Stop.
Oh, no, they're saying they gave him plenty of chances. No.
Yeah, stop.
No.
Stop.
What happened was you didn't have an opportunity to give him a chance. You felt you were in win now mode. You thought he could play right away. You were wrong. Yeah. It was the timeline thing.
As if now this is the first thing that I find very rich. Everybody within earshot of 49ers fans and content creators and media all alike, even coaching staff, have talked about our window, the window for us to win now. Every rash opportunity or rash decision that we've made has always been in the guise of our window. Mm-hmm. I have never in the history of the game ever heard of a team that was good enough to close their window for a year and then open it back up.
Yeah. What are you talking about? What?
Who the hell does that?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden the Niners decide, you know what? The year that we went to the NFC Championship game for the 3rd time, right? That year, we were really trying to lose that year. But what ended up happening was that we just stumbled upon the NFC Championship game. Cap. Stop, dog.
Greg T says, Grant Coach, why does everyone seem to believe Purdy will be amazing next year? Do most second-year quarterbacks get better? Is the sophomore slump real?
Well, let's talk about this. I think that there are 2 sides of the Purdy, of the Brock Purdy contingency. I think there are those who think that Brock Purdy is going to be amazing, right? Mm-hmm. And I think there are those who lean on the more pragmatic side of Brock is just good enough to utilize what we have as a team. And that's what I'm on board with. Like, I'm on board with seeing our offense move in a certain way and seeing our skilled players and our team be able to have complementary football with Brock as a requisite piece to that. The only problem is that once you do that, you gotta buy into that whole hog. that means that you can't count on Brock to be a leader because that's not what you're asking for. You're asking for a piece. So Brock is a piece. Is Brock going to be a franchise quarterback down the line? We shall see. But franchise quarterbacks are the common denominator when offenses ebb and flow. And right now, we have one of the best offenses in the league, and it's hard to tell where Brock is juxtaposed to that. We're not always going to have this roster.
Shreddy Murphy says, I'm very curious to see how Indy handles AR-15. Can Steichen groom him, or will he divert to Minshew, who already knows his AR and Trey Lance similar stats? Very interested to see how that goes. Because to me, Steichen's going to take a whole different approach. He's probably going to play him right away. He's not going to put him under center. He's going to have him in the. It'll be interesting.
They're nurturing him, and what they're just saying, we have a plan for you.
Yeah, and we're going to stick to it. Marco Bravo says Trey deserves better than this. The Niners organization is a joke. If they let Trey go, it will be the worst trade up, and that's what they will be remembered for. Correct.
Yeah,
the worst trade up.
And really, the single point of failure is on our rookie coming off elbow injury, because I guarantee you that narrative will be cast into the sea of forgetfulness if we win. If we win, nobody will care about that. So we just have to understand that that's incubating, because everybody's going to come back to this if we lose.
Official BNA Music 88 says those 3 reporters have said things in the past that have come off anti-affirmative action. It's hard to believe they say he's been given chances. Yeah.
And it's very flippant. It's he's been given chances. The Niners know what they want. And it's like, bro, he hasn't played. Stop. Like, I don't care how many times I don't care how many dynamic microphones you get behind and say this. He hasn't been given a real shot. We're not going to do that. He's good. He's bad. He's a bust. He's not. But what you're not going to say is he's been given a shot.
That's the wild one. Read this one.
I swear Purdy is every middle-aged man's ideal. And yes, vicariously living through him, right? He's Al Bundy off Polk High. Like a lot of Al Bundys love them some, but that is.
See, Purdy proves that I could have made it if I had just been given a chance. But they started the guy with the strong arm who was 6'4". I tried to tell him that there's more to the position than that, but they didn't.
Listen, man, a lot of people identify with what they see. You know what I'm saying? Brock Purdy he's relatable to the regular guy walking down the street that can come up and shake his hand.
Because he looks like the regular guy walking down the street.
Yeah.
People don't think about it, but I think most people want to root for someone that looks like them.
Or they identify.
And I think Brock Purdy looks. Yeah, and I think looking like the guy goes a long way. And Brock Purdy looks like every person's kid. Not every person's kid, but every white person's kid. I mean, he looks like he's your cousin. He's your little brother.
Yeah, I mean, Brock,
And everyone's met someone like Brock before with that little haircut. He's 6 feet tall.
That's what's icky about this whole like narrative, right? About what's going on about this is because I feel like there's dishonest brokers attaching themselves to this debate when this should be purely about football.
Also with Jimmy, like part of the image with Jimmy was that he had these like supermodel looks, right? He had grown men calling him Jimmy GQ, which was hilarious to me. Brock's
very weird.
Brock is much more of like a everyman. He looks like he's in high school. He looks little. He looks like Harry Potter, essentially.
Yeah.
Like he's just nobody, but he has these superpowers. And I think it's almost like the Stephen Curry effect, right? On a basketball court, Stephen Curry looks like a kid, even though he's 35 years old, always has. And I think that's why he resonates with so many people, kids.
Yeah, I feel like Brock translates a lot of what Brock brings is he's very humble. His story is very easy to get behind. Yeah. A lot of people have been counted out and made it by the skin of their teeth. And people want to keep this story going. If I was behind this story, I would. I am behind this story in a lot of lights. My career didn't go nearly as far as Brock's career. So I know what it's like to be counted out and see your career on life support. Right. So, Brock has a lot of people.
Hell yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all like Brock. What's funny is how many people hate Trey. And they'll be like, I don't hate Trey, bro. I don't hate Trey, bro. Like, dog. Yes, you do. No one hates Brock. Everyone's rooting for Brock. Some people are a little skeptical that he can be like an elite quarterback. But the amount of people that just hate Trey and said, like, I mean, I saw it right away. DeShone Kizer, like, man, sit down.
Yeah, go ahead. And then again, for anybody who's saying that they saw it right away, that's basically an indictment on our coaching staff and our developmental department. So if you saw it right away, then what didn't they see for the months and months of countless games and plays and people that they interviewed and person-to-person interviews and family evals and psych evals and going around this neighborhood and finding out? I mean, you really do a lot of work for them to only have 4 games shown for what it would take to do the legwork for an acquisition this large, knowing the assets in tow. That shows that it's not Trey that they're hiding. In my eyes, they're hiding something broken with their process. Mm-hmm. That's what they're hiding. They're hiding a chasm.
I agree. Session says this core never win the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy or Sam Darnold. Play Trey. Well, we'll see. NG49 says Kyle Lynch have fumbled the quarterback position so many times that to me, they don't get the benefit of the doubt anymore. I don't trust their decisions on quarterback. That's the way I look at it too. And then you have all these reporters being like, well, the Niners know what they want. They're a really good organization. What's their track record at quarterback? And why would you anyway?